have been many what ifs in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What if Josuke was in part 5? What if Giorno was in part 6? What if Jobin was the main antagonist in JoJolion? And what if Joshu was a good character? But there is one that I've seen not been talked about that much, and that is what if Panacotta Fugo joined his Passione brethren to defeat the mob boss Diavolo. That's what we're talking about today. Now, the manga doesn't really show Fugo's backstory, and we actually don't get to see it until 2011 with Purple Haze feedback, and it's completely different to the anime, so I'm sticking with the anime. Fugo is an Italian boy who was raised in a really wealthy and influential family. At a young age, he was groomed for greatness, and one of the biggest examples is him going into college at a young age. There we get to see the tragedy that Fugo suffered. He was most likely assaulted by his professor, and at a fit of rage, killed him. His family bailed him out, but because of this, they decided to abandon him, thus leaving Fugo to fend for himself in the streets of Italy. That's where one day he was seen eating in Bucciarati's restaurant, where he was able to finesse a free meal from the waiter. Bucciarati was impressed, so he decided to tell the boy to come over here and to join his gang. Fugo actually warned Bruno that he had a short temper, but Bucciarati was able to take the challenge. Also, I know it's annoying, but I alternate from Bruno to Bucciarati. I don't know why, he's the only one I do it for, so just bear with me. With this, he passed Pulpo's test and gained his stand, Purple Haze. The stand with a deadly man-eating virus that he has in his fists is a really dangerous stand, and even at that age, Fugo knew that he had to be careful. But even in this tough environment, Fugo was still able to do some pretty good stuff. You know, he was able to rescue Narancia, who was also abandoned by his family and friends. Took him to Bucciarati's restaurant and gave him a free meal, thus gaining Narancia's loyalty. And in a weird sense of way became his big brother, even though Fugo is 16 and Narancia 17, but Narancia isn't the smartest tool in the shed. Anyways, after finding Pulpo's treasure and gaining their new mission to take Trish to the boss, they decide to head out and find clues to tell them where the boss is. And thus we see his biggest showcase in his fight against Luzo and Man in the Mirror. There we see his intelligence, but also his rage in the form of Purple Haze and his inability to control him. This stand was such a loose cannon that Abakio was warning Giorno not to get close to him, as Fugo himself couldn't control it.
どうもそれは爆発するかのように遅いそして消える時は嵐のように立ち去るまさに
And I even think that Fugo can get infected by the virus himself, even though he's the one controlling the stand who has the virus. Abakio calls it a duality, as the stand shows how Fugo actually feels inside, nothing but pent-up rage, while Fugo in the outside, he shows his intelligence and his affirmity. And after decimating Luso, they continue their mission, and then Bruno gets donated.
絶頂を脅かす者は許さない決して確実に消え去ってもらう
Because of this and the boss's betrayal of Trish, they decided to betray the boss and go on a mission to kill him and find his true identity. Everyone agrees except Fugo, leaving him behind all alone, lost and with mixed feelings because of the situation. Originally, he was gonna betray the gang, leading into a fight against Giorno, but Araki himself nixed the idea due to being depressed and not wanting to see another tragedy in his work of art. I haven't read it yet, but I think the light novel Golden Ring, Golden Heart or something like that has Fugo actually betraying the gang and just go out murdering people, and then there's this girl who can heal people. I haven't read it. I might want to read it later. Maybe I can review it, but kind of interesting on how we would have seen a evil, you know, a bad guy Fugo. Anyways, enough exposition. Let's get into the real part of the video. Clash and Talking Head. So the way I'm going to do my what if scenarios is put Fugo in the current arc and see how he would impact it. going into Fugo's personality and guessing how Araki would insert Fugo in that specific part, or arc I mean. So Fugo stays with the gang, and when Squalo and Tiziano attack Narancia, Fugo starts to act more questionable, kind of taking Giorno's role in the original story. And the reason I have it like that is because Fugo and Narancia have a bigger relationship than the rest of the gang, and I know they want Giorno and Narancia's relationship to grow, so they'll make Fugo the oblivious and stupid one, not noticing that Narancia's being different. It's like how the rest of the gang were, but even if he wasn't, he still would have gotten taken away by Squalo and Tiziano, because he really can't do anything to attack them when they're so far away, so he really doesn't have any impact for this arc. Notorious B.I.G. So after leaving Venice, the gang confronts Carne, kills him, but unknowingly activates his stand Notorious B.I.G. Unlike the previous arc, in this one, I can see Fugo having a big impact. See, Purple Haze has this deadly virus that can eat any living creature's cells up and turn them into mush, and since normal humans who aren't stand users were able to see Notorious B.I.G. and mistake him as the Kraken, this gives me the idea that Fugo is able to destroy him in just a couple of punches. But the problem is that they might infect the rest of the gang members, but this is the interesting part about that. In the Man in the Mirror fight, Giorno was able to find himself an antidote when he got himself infected to draw in Eluso. That would have made Giorno immune to the Purple Haze virus. That's probably why Araki wanted Giorno to face Fugo, as he was the only one who was able to stop him. With this, I think it's a possibility that Giorno can make more antidotes for the rest of the gang. This would make a lot of people immune to the Purple Haze virus, especially the ones that he cares the most, the gang. This would probably make Fugo feel more secure on using his stand, and thus not feeling obligated to use it when there are dire consequences. The only bad thing about this arc is Fugo is here is that we don't get any character development for Trish, but maybe we can fix it in the next arc? So after Doppio and Diavolo defeat Risotto, the gang search for the boss and protect the area. Bacchio uses Moody Blues to find out the true identity of the boss. Now, Fugo will most likely stay with the Bacchio as backup, but both will still get King Crimsoned. And yes, sadly, a Bacchio will still die and would probably leave Fugo gravely injured. Now I'll tell you why a Bacchio still dies later and why Fugo lives. But until then, we still get that sad, emotional moment we got in the anime and manga. This would probably lead into Trish getting some character development as well, seeing the guys literally putting their lives on the line for her. Maybe we can get a relationship going with Fugo. I mean, Araki kind of hinted at that relationship around early part 5, so I don't see why they couldn't continue it.
Once we get to the station, though, I bet the place will be swarming with rats ready to snitch.
I can't imagine what you must be going through. Suddenly having a target on your back because of an estranged father. It must be terrifying.
I feel you, Fugo.
But that being said, sorry Shiloi, Green Day and Oasis. Since we're still going with what happened in the previous arc, we'll just say that Fugo is injured and would be a non-factor in the fight against Chocolata and Secco. But if he is able to fight, I'm pretty sure he would join Bruno to fight Secco and would easily defeat him. But in order to keep that aura thing with Bruno and Doppio, let's just say that he gets injured and is unconscious and is found later by Giorno or Mista, while Bruno and Doppio go and meet Polnareff. Alright, so after Diavolo reveals himself and before killing Polnareff, he gets stabbed and evolves his stand into Silvercharia Requiem. With the stand putting everyone close to the Colosseum and outside to sleep, the other ability activates, allowing people to switch bodies with those who are close to them. So while it's hard to decide who would switch bodies with Fugo, we can just say that he switches bodies with a random animal. We can say that he switches bodies with Trish or Mista to keep that whole relationship angle going. Still continue the story of finding out where Diavolo has hidden, and we get to see, of course, Narancia's death. This would probably take a bigger toll to Fugo than Abakio's death, because remember, Fugo and Narancia have a close, big little brother relationship. Remember, in the anime, he wasn't even included, and they still added the Aerosmith in the cloud scene to see basically what Fugo missed out when he left the game. So it would be safe to say that he would probably unleash purple haze, he'd probably get mad, and it would probably lead into another moment with Trish in order to calm him down, while Diavolo is of course trying to find a perfect way to strike. And everything basically stays the same, I wouldn't change everything. Bucciarati outsmarts Diavolo, Giorno gets the arrow, GG, get wrecked son. Rolling Stones. The whole story of the Rolling Stones will remain the same since it was before they met Giorno and before they decided to betray the boss. But remember when I decided not to talk about Abbacchio, Narancia, and even Bruno's death and why Fugo being there wasn't going to change anything? Well, here's why. The whole point of that arc is to say that we're all slaves to fate. Abbacchio, Narancia, and Bruno were destined to die. In that same arc, Fugo could have been killed in the car accident when Mista crashed it. I mean, the car could have blown up, he could have not worn his seatbelt and he would have flown out, breaking his neck. There would have been many ways Fugo could have died, but he still survived because it wasn't his time. Remember, the Stoned only prophesied that those three were gonna die. So as much as it pains me to say this, those three will be dead and we would still have to continue the story as it was. But this time, Fugo would probably be more active in the Passione business, probably being another right-hand man to Giorno. Most likely being his number 2, as remember in the Man in the Mirror fight, he was saying that he has his total respect and would probably continue it since he didn't betray them. And he might even get in a relationship with Trish, as I was hinting before, so I don't know what is a better ending for Fugo, whether it's the feedback or the what if scenario, but whatever it is, he doesn't really get a happy ending, but at least he still has the rest of the gang to keep him company instead of being all alone in the beginning of the light novel. And that's basically it. I don't see many other what if scenarios, but if I'm able to find or conjure up one, I might put it in a video. With that being said, like, subscribe, comment, and do everything other YouTubers tell you to do, or I'll hit you with a virus stronger than Corona.
決断は済ませた。それにかける。